Hey guys, welcome back to the Piston Show. So in today's video, we want to talk to you about Proton X90 and compare it against this car, the Chery Tiggo 8 Pro. Now, this is a very important video for me, at least, because I want to help you decide which car offers you better value for your money. So I want to look at everything from the design to the interior packaging, to the features that it has to offer, to its powertrain, as well ultimately the way they drive. Ultimately, these cars are big SUVs, there's no doubt about it. They are big and imposing no matter which way you look at it. So that also means that they are perfectly adapted to perhaps life as a family mover, or even something that you want to be driven in, because both these cars are actually quite capable. So the Chery Tiggo 8 Pro is only available in Malaysia as a single variant. It's made here in Malaysia, which actually signals Chery's intent on being quite serious about the Malaysian market. It's made in Kulim, just FYI. The Proton X90 does not need an introduction. It is actually Proton's flagship model over here, and this is also the flagship variant of the X90 models. This costs 152,800 ringgit, whereas the Chery costs 159,800 ringgit. But there's a catch over here. If you add just 2,000 ringgit more, Chery will top up the warranty for the engine to 10 years or 1 million kilometers. That is incredible. How does it stack up against the Proton X90? That's what I want to tell you in this video. So come with me as we try to figure out which one is nicer and which one you should spend your money on. Guys, we all seem to have that one friend that always tells us that all petrols are the same. Well, I'm here to tell you that that's wrong. Take BH Petrol's Infinity Raw 97 Euro 4M for example. It comes with special German additives that are designed to keep your engine clean by reducing the amount of deposits that build up in your engine over the long term. Besides that, it also has an improved friction modifier that actually reduces the amount of friction that your engine has to go through, which ultimately gives you better mileage, making BH Petrol's Infinity Raw 97 Euro 4M the right choice. 1, 2, 3, yeah. So let's start off with the powertrains. The X90 is powered by a 1.5-litre 3-cylinder turbocharged engine with a dual-clutch transmission. It's basically the same engine that you're going to find in the likes of the X50, the X90, and now the S70 as well. 190 PS, 300 Newton meters of torque. Well, when the X90 was first introduced, there was a lot of discussion out there whether this powertrain was good enough to basically haul such a big, imposing SUV. Well, I'm happy to say that having driven it before, having driven it to Genting and such, it's actually quite decent. You can do some pretty illegal speeds that will get your license confiscated. So that is basically tells you what it can do lah. However, it's going to take some time to get there because after all, it is quite a heavy car. It is actually better suited for fuel efficiency. It's quite economical in that sense, but again, because it's pulling such a big car, so time will tell on how it actually stands. Basically, the test of time. It's not even been a year since the X90 was launched. Perhaps in another couple of months it will be a year. But I'm happy to say that the X90 has done really well, in my books at least, because I think it's a good packaging in terms of the spaciousness that it has to offer, the quality, and in flagship variant it also comes with captain seats. So I'll get to that later. In terms of the powertrain, I think it's quite decent. However, it pales in comparison to the Chery. 2-litre 4-cylinder engine, turbocharged of course, 256 horsepower, which basically just annihilates the X90, and 390 Newton meters of torque. This is impressively powerful. There's no doubt about it. When it comes to power, the Tiggo 8 Pro is just so fantastic in that sense. Fuel efficiency, well, I haven't really been driving this car long enough, so perhaps that is something that I'll answer later. I just picked up this car yesterday, did drive it around, did some illegal speeds with it. It's quite refined, power delivery is instantaneous, but in terms of fuel efficiency, the fuel gauge is yet to drop. So as far as fuel economy goes, for now, I'm thinking it's pretty okay. But as far as power goes, this is quite fun. Now, I don't usually like to talk about design in my videos because I always thought that design is very subjective. As I always say, something that I like, you may not like, and vice versa. However, in this video, if I have to pick one over the other, I think the Chery Tiggo 8 Pro is the better looking model among both over here. The X90 is safe, and if the Chery wasn't here, I would say that it's actually quite a good looking design as well. But in the presence of the Chery, it just pales. The Chery is more matured in a certain sense. It is also better looking, it's more handsome. And at the front, both these cars have these really big grills. Of course, the Chery has the bigger grill over here, and both these cars have this sort of diamond-esque finishing over here. However, Chery calls it the Galaxy Grille. Perhaps thinking that these are stars and this represents a planet. I can sort of see why. And of course, both cars come with LEDs, daytime DRLs, and the works, right? However, it has this twin daytime running lights over here, which makes it look more elegant. In comparison, the Proton X90, well, Proton spent some time localizing it. The design has been updated, the grille is new, the bumper is new. So these are Proton's touches to sort of localize the X90 for Malaysian tastes. And as I said, if the Chery wasn't here, this wouldn't be so bad. In fact, I would go so far as to call it quite a handsome design. It's just that because the Chery is here, this is the better looking one. From the back too, well, the Proton X90 has a very squarish, boxy-like silhouette as compared to the Chery Tiggo 8 Pro, which in my opinion, again, looks better. All of these light works, they have some fancy light works every time you lock or unlock the car. However, these emblems over here make the back look a little bit busy, which is not a bad thing because those can be removed. And these quad exhausts over here, well, they all work. And as far as boot space goes, well, keep in mind that both these cars are actually 7-seaters. Well, the X90 is here with its flagship variant, so technically that is a 6-seater, but you can have it as a 7-seater variant as well. So with the third row seats stacked up, as you can see, there's not much boot space. However, it's quite easy to fold the seats flat, and this gives you even more boot space. And the great thing about the third row seats is that you have your own air conditioning vents together with your blower settings. And one thing that I really appreciate about the Chery Tiggo 8 Pro is that it actually comes with its own tonneau cover that is neatly stacked away over here. Every time you need to use your tonneau cover, it's just placed over here. This is very nifty, very handy, and I think makes it quite accessible. The Proton X90 though, well, it somewhat looks slightly bigger. In fact, the X90 is a bigger car overall since it's longer, wider, with a longer wheelbase. I'll get to that shortly. But this ultimately does result in more boot space. However, unlike the Chery Tiggo 8 Pro, the X90 does not have a tonneau cover. So even though it has this space over here, it's better suited to keep your stuff rather than, you know, actually hiding a tonneau cover, which in my books is a bit of a pity. But it does come with its own air conditioning blowers, and you have your own cup holders, which the Chery also has. However, you also get your own USB ports. So as far as the comfort for third row passengers go, the Proton does it better. So the interior of the Chery Tiggo 8 Pro is, well, very Mercedes inspired. But that's not a bad thing. Hang with me. Let's start with the seats first. Seats are ventilated and they look really good, no doubt about it. Very comfortable, but you know, these sort of side bolsters over here, yeah, I think they were inspired by Mercedes. This column over here, very Mercedes-like in the way that it's been designed, the gloss black finishing, such. And this is basically your mode selector over here, your electronic parking brake, brake hold, hazard lights, and interestingly, even your volume control and for the audio is placed over here, just like a Mercedes. Besides that, you also get this ash wood trimming over here, just like a Mercedes. Then you get this mega screen over here, which combined measures in at about 24 point something inches. Huge, but it's separated into two smaller panels. So this is your speedometer, your meter panel, this is your infotainment. And guess what? Just like a Mercedes. So all the buttons and switches over here, and even interestingly this part over here, where you get your speaker, your memory function buttons, your door handle, your basically, and the way it floats, you guessed it, just like a Mercedes. So obviously it's really took a lot of cues from Mercedes-Benz, but it's not a bad thing because it kind of actually looks great. And if you've not stepped into a Mercedes-Benz for the past 10 years or so, no one would have guessed it. Overall, the fit, the finish, the quality, and the way everything just fits is really good. I like the seats, they're comfortable. However, I just don't like this part over here, how it expands upwards, because what this does is it ultimately sacrifices on your knee space. So you kind of got to sit a little bit sideways to, yeah, go straight. But that just sort of makes it feel slightly uncomfortable, in my books at least. But you do get this double panel, double stacked space over here, so you get more storage space. And there are the USB ports are over here, type A, type C. You also get a charge pad, cup holders, and you get this massive space over here which you can use to cool your drinks. And fit, finish, overall quality, everything looks brilliant in the Tiggo 8 Pro. No complaints whatsoever, except for this, which sort of just sacrifices on your leg space just a tad bit. Besides that, I think it's quite good. Second row passengers, well, you'll find this place to be quite comfortable. No complaints whatsoever. It's basically a very nice place to be in. You get your own air conditioning vents. Unfortunately, no air conditioning vents at the side here, so these are your only source of cool air. You do, however, get type A, type C USB ports at the bottom. You get this slot over here to hold your phone, and more cup holders over here. So it's easy to get comfortable over here. You get a really good sound system as well, a 9-speaker audio, Sony audio system. Sounds amazing. I tested it yesterday, really good. But besides all of that, it's generally a nice place to be in. Again, the Mercedes theme continues over here, and with the switches as well. So yeah, nice place, no complaints. Quality, really good. Now the interior of the X90, well, I always thought that it looked great, and then I sat in the Chery Tiggo 8 Pro, which sort of just, again, totally annihilates the Proton X90. But that's not to say that the interior of the X90 is not nice. It's nice, it's decent, quality is good. You get basically everything that you want, you get it in the X90. You get a 10-inch digital meter panel, you get a 12-point-something inch infotainment system, you get basically you get everything that you need. You get 2 USB ports, you get a panoramic roof, which you also get in the Chery. You get this Napa leather seats, which are ventilated as well, just like in the Chery. And basically the quality in here feels good. The finish feels great as well, except that in the Chery, perhaps it's because of the Mercedes-Benz inspiration, the packaging of the Chery just looks and feels better, in my books at least. However, the Chery also comes with Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, wired Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, where else the Proton does not. However, I think you should know this by now. There are rumors, and Proton has confirmed that it is working on introducing Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. They have heard the market. They do know that the market has asked for Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, so that's coming up. And I hear that even if you have a current generation X70, X90, you may be able to install Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. You just can't do it from a third party because that will void your warranty. But besides that, everything over here feels good. Just like in the Chery, your drive mode selector is located over here. And just like in the Chery as well, you get 3 drive modes: Eco, Comfort and Sport. Over here, there are plenty of gloss black finishing, just like in the Chery. And basically everything else, well, feels very Proton-esque. In that sense, if you're going to be jumping from one car to the other, I think you'll agree with me. The Chery simply just feels better. But as far as second row goes, the Proton just does it better, especially in this flagship variant, because you get these captain chairs, these captain seats, it just makes it feel so spacious. And you know, one thing I really like about the X90, and which is something that I've said over and over again in all my reviews regarding the X90, I love the fact that you have your own air conditioning blower settings at the back here. The second row seats are ventilated, so on a hot day like today, it's 9:30 and it's already like nearly 30 degrees. Oh, it's such a hot, humid day. I really appreciate the fact that the back seats, the second row seats, are so cool in as far as temperature goes. The air conditioning vents are at the top here, which means cool air go to your face rather than to your knees. It's something that I say over and over again. It's just such a nice place to be in. And if you just want to bask in sunlight or something, you can just do this. Hi Proton?
Yes, I'm here.
Open the sunshade.
All right, opening.
But I must tell you that even though this looks and sounds great, the Chery can do it too. Which means, as far as tech goes, both cars are almost equal. Now let's explore a bit of what the type of tech that both cars have to offer, and then take them for a drive, and that's where we will conclude which you should spend your money on. And one final thing about the Chery as well as the Proton X90 with regards to the features that it has. Both cars come with 360-degree cameras or all-round view cameras. Different manufacturers have different names for it. So in the Chery, it's called 360 Panorama, right? So you access it through this app or through the icon, and basically this is how it looks. So this gives you, if you press this gives you an all-around view. However, so this gives you a front view, back view, and such. If I press this is the back view, this is the front view, this is the 360-degree view. So from this, I can just basically turn it this way and just sort of see what's around me. I cannot actually just see on top. On top is seen through here. If I press that, this gives me the forward view with the markings that follow the angle of the steering wheel. And if I press this just basically shows me everything, all the features that I have access to. Okay, and so yeah, view is great. very sharp, very defined in terms of resolution. So 360-degree camera is very handy, there's no doubt about it, especially in a car this big. Makes parking and living with it a lot easier. Now let's go see what the resolution is like in the X90. In the X90, well, you access the 360 camera through this button over here. So press this, and this basically, in terms of resolution, somewhat look the same. The screen is obviously smaller, so it looks compressed. So if I have all these options over here, this is your 3D, and this is how many cameras there are. There are 8 cameras all around the car, and I can do this. And the good thing about the X90 as compared to the Chery is I can have a top-down view, where else in the Chery there's only the top-down view on the side here. So this is great. And if I press more, and this just gives me the hind view, the front view, the full hind view, the full front view, and such. In terms of resolution, oh, I can even change the color of the vehicle. So ruby red is what the color is right now, but I can change it to blue. Let's see if it works. How can I tell? Yeah, it doesn't really matter now. But so anyway, in terms of resolution, I'm hard done. They both roughly look about the same in terms of resolution. The most important thing over here though is that it just makes living and with such big cars, living and parking with such big cars a lot easier. So that's the convenience of having a 360-degree camera. Both the cars have it, both have impressive resolutions. You can't really do a review of a car with 3 rows of seats without actually jumping in the 3rd row seats. So unfortunately there's no way to do this elegantly. So I'm gonna try my best not to look like a complete idiot, but let's do this. So well, it's not quite there yet. Yeah. Okay. Now I have reviewed the 3rd row of the X90 before, and I've said it before, I'll say it again, that the 3rd row of the X90 is actually rather comfortable. That's not bad, especially in the flagship variant, because you have this space over here to sort of just, stretch your legs. And the other thing that I like, which I've already mentioned, is you get your cup holders as well as your USB ports, which means that you can spend some time at the back here. And I also like the fact that the air conditioning vents are mounted on the roof. So this means you get cool air blowing to your face. Yeah, I can imagine spending some time here. Let's go check out the Chery. Well, coming out of here, not so bad lah. And now for the Chery. Let's see. Okay, from the get-go it doesn't look very good because the opening over here is not as big as the Proton. But I'm gonna try to fit my giant frame in there anyway. Got it. Definitely not as comfortable as the X90. Really small place to be. I wouldn't want to be here. But just like the X90, you get your own air conditioning vents. There's no USB ports though, but you do get your air conditioning blower settings, which the X90 also has, but it's just that the driver has to adjust the blower settings. And it's making me feel claustrophobic. I want to get out of here. I can't imagine spending more than 20 minutes at the back there. Yeah. Anyway, very small. X90 definitely has better 3rd row space. Now let's try to get out of here. My bum is stuck. Okay, Got it! As far as tech for the Proton X90 goes, it is actually just as every bit as impressive as it's been ever since the X70 was first introduced for the Malaysian market. If you remember, when the X70 was introduced locally, it just created wave after wave because everybody was so blown away by how cheap it was, how much it had to offer. I remember people used to say that it had more tech than a Mercedes or a BMW for a lot cheaper money. So in that sense, I thought, I think the X90 has continued on that route, because for 152,800 ringgit, you're even getting stuff like adaptive cruise control with stop and go function. That is a feature that is hugely underrated, as far as my opinion goes, at least, because I think we underestimate how important this can be, especially if you're going to be spending a lot of time in traffic. But besides that, you get a lot of other stuff as well. I have a list over here, such as the fact that you get 6 airbags. The Chery has 9, but I'll talk about that when I get in the car. Of course, you get stuff like ABS, electronic brake force distribution, other things that autonomous emergency braking, hill descent control, forward collision warning, lane keep assist, lane departure warning, intelligent high beam control, door opening warning system. Now this is really interesting because perhaps a tad bit annoying as well, because even when you're stuck in traffic, every time there's a motorcyclist or a cyclist or a pedestrian that walks by, the car alerts you. In a way, it's good because it just warns you that there is an obstacle, so don't open the door. In the other sense, it's annoying because we have just hundreds and perhaps thousands of motorcyclists that we encounter on our in our daily commute. So it's just always warning you, man, and that can get a bit annoying. But you also get tire pressures monitoring system together with a 360-degree camera, which is something that I think we can all appreciate. Now, onto the way that it drives. I've driven the X90 before, and as I've said, even though it is down on power as compared to the Chery, it feels good enough. It feels sufficient. And the one thing that I really liked about the X90, even previously, was the refinement that it had to offer. And that just continues, even though this is an entirely different model than the one that we've drove before. This has 15,000 kilometers on the odometer, so significantly run in already. But it feels good. It doesn't feel like anything's out of the ordinary. It doesn't feel lethargic. It doesn't feel... 15,000 kilometers is good enough to tell you how the car will feel like. Of course, nothing will tell you better than perhaps 30 or 50,000 kilometers. But the X90 is still new in the market, let's be fair. Alright, so if you put your foot down, you just get a bit of lag as the turbo starts to spool, and you're up to 100 kilometers per hour in no time. It's just decent, it's good enough, okay? As far as fuel efficiency goes, I'll talk about that as soon as I park the car. But one thing I like about this car is that it's really refined. You do get a bit of wind noise that intrudes back into the cabin somewhere from the top over here. But that's just perhaps because of the design of the A-pillar over here. It has a very steep rake, so that perhaps makes it sound, actually contributes to the wind noise over here. But besides that, I think at slightly higher speeds, refinement is still good. You barely hear anything from the tires, and that's just testament to what Proton has done, because as I've said before, the X90 is not a simple copy and paste job. It's not a simple, oh, here's a new grille, here's a new set of bumpers. It's not as easy as that. Proton actually localized the suspension of the X90. Of course, you get McPherson struts and multi-link suspension. So this has been localized. It has been tested, I think, over a duration of 1 million kilometers on Malaysian roads. So, and you feel that. If you're wondering what that noise is, it's quite loud. That is the indicator. It's just so loud, it's just so annoying. And unfortunately, you cannot adjust the volume on that indicator switch. So you just got to deal with that, unfortunately. But besides that, I think the way the X90 drives, the sitting position, especially the sitting position, is nicer than the Chery. But the way it drives is perhaps better suited for Malaysian roads as well. I think the Chery tends to feel a little bit floaty. I'll speak about that more once we get behind the wheel of the Chery. But for what it is, I think the X90 has a very nice, very comfortable, very pleasant driving experience. If I didn't tell you that this was a 1.5 turbo 3-cylinder engine, you wouldn't have guessed it. That's how good it is. No complaints. So now in the Chery Tiggo 8 Pro, just for your knowledge, this is basically the latest generation Chery Tiggo 8 Pro. In China and in certain markets, it's known as the Tiggo 8 Pro Max. However, in Malaysia, as I've already said in the beginning of this video, we are only getting a single variant of the Tiggo 8 Pro, so they're just calling it the Tiggo 8 Pro rather than the Tiggo 8 Pro Max. So if you're watching this video from other markets, this is the Max version, the latest generation Tiggo 8. Anyway, it too comes with a lot of options, features, a lot of features that I think just about anybody can appreciate. It comes with 9 airbags as opposed to 6 airbags in the X90. Interestingly, you also get side curtain airbags in the Tiggo 8 Pro, and this is quite a rarity in the market. This is usually something that more expensive cars have. The driver's side also has knee airbags, hence the odd number. Besides that, you also get a lane departure warning, lane keep assist, blind spot monitoring, door open warning, same like the Proton X90, rear cross traffic alert, adaptive cruise control, front collision warning with auto braking, and 360-degree camera, which, as I've shown you, it's quite impressive in terms of resolution. The thing is, the Tiggo 8 Pro actually does not have as nice of a sitting position as the X90 because of the weird design of the center console. Everything else feels nice, the seats are very comfortable, but if you're on the taller side like me or the broader side like me, I think you will find the sitting position to be a little bit odd. It's hard to get comfortable here as well, but let me just sort of find my ideal sitting position. Not perfect, but better. Okay, let's do this. The other thing that I really don't like about the Tiggo 8 is that fish-eye rear view mirror. It has this fish-eye effect, which does not actually help with seeing what's really behind you. It actually makes it easier to take a look at your backseat passengers than it is to see what's actually coming up behind you. So you still have to kind of rely on your side view mirrors to see what's behind you, what's approaching and whatnot. So yeah, that's probably one thing that I would change in the Tiggo 8 Pro. Besides that, coming up to toll plazas. Okay, let me just get back to you after I pay this toll. But refinement, I think it matches the Proton. Let's get up to speed and address that properly. Yeah. Alright. Anyway, one thing I really like about this car is the power. Sounds really good as well. I'm sure anybody can appreciate this. This is really impressive. The amount of power that the Chery Tiggo 8 Pro has is just, it leaves the X90 in a cloud of dust, man. So if power is your thing, then I think you'll really like the Chery. But anyway, the other thing about the Chery is the refinement. Tire noise is down to minimal. The wind noise, while the X90 had some wind noise intruding back into the cabin from here, you get none of that in the Chery. It's actually very nice, quiet in here. But yesterday, while I was driving this car, I started to feel a little bit nauseous because I later realized that the suspension of the Tiggo 8 is a little bit, or perhaps too much, on the softer side. So you get this wallows, you get these wobbles. You know, it rather than absorbing all of this, it just sort of just rolls over them and such. And that makes the interior feel, makes the occupants feel like you're not being thrown around, but rather you are just sort of moving with the car. And because the interior is so quiet, it just sort of feels a little bit weird. And I thought that was just me, until I had a passenger in the back seat today, and he began to feel nauseous as well. So in just a short distance, he's not somebody that get nauseous very quick. So yeah, that's one thing to look out for in the Tiggo 8 Pro, the softer suspension and such. So of course, soft suspension is great because it makes the car feel very comfortable, very plush. It feels like a very nice ride quality. But after some time, especially at higher speeds, that's when you start to realize that something just does not quite feel right. Okay? Besides all of that, I really have not much to complain about the Tiggo 8 Pro. It is a very nice car, refinement is top notch. Power, as I've said, is just, I gotta feel that again. Yeah. You get up to some really illegal speeds very quick. And that's just in normal mode. Okay, I think I made my point. Anyway, the other thing about the Tiggo 8 Pro is when you're driving it normally, like on regular roads and such, I find that the accelerator is just a little bit too sensitive. So as soon as you just sort of get on the accelerator a bit, it just responds immediately. So that's not a problem actually, because that's just a simple software update. And I found a way around that, and that was to drive the car in eco mode. And when you drive it in eco mode, it feels more natural. I'm driving in normal mode. In traffic yesterday, it just sort of, every time you get on the pedal, it just sort of, throws your head back a little bit. So that kind of got a little bit irritating because I found it difficult to drive this car smoothly. And then I discovered that the way around it was to just drive it in eco mode. And that's where the accelerator felt a little bit more compliant. See? It's just, as you get on the accelerator, it just sort of just jumps at you. There's an immediate surge of power. You could say that, oh wow, this car feels so responsive, so powerful, man. But it's not. Power, when you first step on the accelerator, it should be progressive. But besides that, the interior feels really good. much more upmarket, much more well thought out, and I think it's the Mercedes inspiration in here. It's not perhaps, it's definitely the Mercedes inspiration in here. But the interior of the Tiggo 8 Pro just trumps the XC90, man. However, there's one part where the X90 actually does better. And I have to say this, you may not believe it, that the X90 actually handles better. As I've said, the Chery feels soft. So when you're in a corner, you get quite a bit of body roll. The X90 though, because Proton has localized the suspension, made it feel, more Malaysianized to adapt to Malaysian roads, it feels better suited to Malaysian roads. So in that sense, when you're taking corners, it feels more planted. The Chery just does that. It just sort of wallows, it sort of rolls over. There's a lot of body roll, and inadvertently the passengers get thrown around with it. So yeah, when it comes to handling, Proton definitely handles better, has a better, more compliant ride quality than the Chery. So the time has come. Which should you spend your money on? The Chery Tiggo 8 Pro, which costs 159,800 ringgit, or the Proton X90, which costs 152,800 ringgit. Both are so equally matched that it's just difficult to decide, to be honest. Both have their strengths and their weaknesses. The Chery Tiggo 8 Pro has an amazing engine, all that power, super fun, and that interior is refined and the quality is amazing, and the overall interior design, it makes the car feel more expensive as well. The X90 though is bigger, is more spacious, the passengers will appreciate it. There's even more storage space, and because it comes in this flagship variant, you also get captain chairs. But if you need more seats, you can go for the lesser variants, which basically give you everything but more sitting space. And in terms, I think your passengers, if you have a lot of people to carry around, the X90 might check all your boxes. It also has better handling than the Chery, in my opinion at least. I find that the Chery sort of just wallows and rolls with the road rather than absorbing it and isolating the passengers. The X90 though, well, that instead of rolling with the punches that the roads throw at it like the Chery does, it absorbs them. It isolates the passengers from everything that the road throws at it. So in that sense, I think the X90 feels more comfortable perhaps than the Chery. However, in terms of fuel efficiency, this is an important topic. The X90 gave us a reading of 7.1 liters per 100 kilometers. The Chery gave us a reading of 12 liters per 100 kilometers. That's a lot of difference, and that comes down to the 1.5 liter 3-cylinder engine in the X90. It is also a hybrid version, so it has sort of a 48 volt system in there that is supposed to make the car more efficient and such. Obviously it works, but the Chery has more power, it's more fun to drive, it just feels more evolved in that sense. So if you don't mind that heavier fuel consumption that the Chery has, well, perhaps the Chery might be the car for you. But guys, we cannot deny the elephant in the room, meaning the Chery and its warranties is just amazing. So for just 2,000 ringgit more, you can have a 10-year or 1 million kilometer warranty on the Powertrain. That is just amazing. That is just testament to what Chery believes in with the Tiggo 8 Pro. However, I know that Proton has the more established network, the more established service centers and such, but the Chery just feels that much nicer. Chery says that it is committed to the Malaysian market. In fact, Malaysia is the only market outside of China that is currently assembling right-hand drive models for the Asian and, if I'm not mistaken, the Australian market as well. So that is just testament to how serious Chery is with regards to the Malaysian market. So if I'm spending my own money, it might be the Chery, even though I think that the suspension is a bit too soft. It makes the passengers feel nauseous. The sitting position for the driver is a little bit more small. The X90 has a better sitting position for the driver. It's more comfortable, it's more spacious. But based on my current life's condition where I do not need that much space, I think the Chery is the way to go. Do share your opinion of which you would spend your money on. If you're an owner of any of these cars, please leave a comment and let us know if you agree with all of our feedback regarding both these cars. As usual, do consider subscribing.